games with 41 points.
If I want to make my spot among the greats, I got to try to not miss any occasion I have to put my name up there.
To be able to live up to it and actually be more than you ever thought he could be this early in his career, it's really scary to think ultimately what his ceiling could be. He's so young. He's already added so much, but there's still a lot more there for him to grab.
Earlier in the week, we talked about him putting up 41, or he put up 41 and 18, last night in a win over the Golden State Warriors. And Wemby and the Spurs, you guys, are on an absolute heater. They are playing so well right now. They have won 10 straight they've won 10 straight overall and 15 consecutive games in which Victor Wembanyama has appeared. And during that streak, these are the numbers that Wemby is putting up. 27.9 points and 12.3 rebounds. We know what an incredible defensive force is. The only problem, guys, is that SGA is also keeping pace. SGA is also putting up incredible numbers, the defending MVP down the stretch. Oklahoma City's won 15 of its past 16 games, and SGA eclipsed 40 points 3 times in the past 2 weeks. But, Freddie, let's start with you. As the NBA season is winding down, how impressed are you with what Victor Wembanyama is doing, and do you think that he's the MVP?
It's getting to the point that we're running out of words and adjectives to describe what he's been able to do at both ends of the floor. But the most important thing to me that Victor Wembanyama has been able to do, he's embraced the moment of being that guy, or being one of the guys, and not just on his basketball team, but in the NBA. He knows each and every team and each and every player is coming after him each and every night. And I go back to when they played against the Detroit Pistons. HD and I were doing the show the day after that, and I said, those bad boys thought they were going to punk Mr. Wembanyama. They thought they're going to get the best of him. There was going to be a wee. And he wee-weed all over them. What he's able to do by getting back up time and time again, saying, I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not that one. I thought that was a meat cleaver moment, that you can talk about San Antonio before that moment and San Antonio after that moment, because I thought everybody, Michelle and HD, everybody in that organization said, oh, he is ready for this. He wants this. Bring the steam. He's going to steam back at you. I thought the minute that he was able to get back up time and time again and lead them to victory against a more physical team, that's when things really shifted about the San Antonio Spurs and Victor Wembanyama being that legit in terms of being an MVP and definitely being a championship team.
Freddie, you know what's big for me is the mentality that he steps out on the court with every single night. And it doesn't matter if they're playing against the Chicago Bulls or the Golden State Warriors or the Oklahoma City Thunder. The mindset is the exact same. And we've seen that back-to-back 40-point games, 40-plus and 15-plus rebounds, to be exact. He is going to set the tone every single time he's on the floor. We've seen it within the All-Star game. We were all wondering, headed into the All-Star game this year, what was it going to be like? Are the players going to take it serious? Well, guess what? Victor Wembanyama set the tone. And we've seen a better All-Star game than what we've seen in the past over I would say, the last 5 or 6 years. But when you have a guy, Freddie, that can play with his back to the basket on the offensive end, face up, shoot the three, dribble, and have guard skills, and I like how last night he just didn't force the jump shot. He knew that the Golden State Warriors were lacking bigs. Right? So what did he do? He scored a lot of his points in the paint. He altered shots on the defensive end. We heard him say recently about, the MVP award and how, defense is 50% of the game. Draymond Green had something to say about it as well. Whenever you have a guy that can anchor your team, and a lot of people are going to look at them and say, man, they're so young. But let's also not gloss over the fact that they do have a Harrison Barnes who has playoff experience. They have a Luke Cornett who won an NBA championship with the Boston Celtics. De'Aaron Fox, even though it was a very short stint in the playoffs, he has that playoff experience as well. Not deep, but he has it. You can't overlook that. And I think this is a group who is very, very deep. Look at their bench. You got Harrison Barnes coming off the bench. You have Keldon Johnson coming off the bench. Dylan Harper coming off the bench. All these guys playing a pivotal role but have that belief in themselves. But Victor Wembanyama anchors the charge in San Antonio. And because he's that wild card and something we've never seen before with our eyes, I don't look at them being a young team entering the playoffs because of Victor Wembanyama and his mindset every single time he steps out on the floor.
And Smalls and HD, they had 7 guys that scored in double figures last night. 4 starters and 3 guys off the bench. Although I want to give Pat Spencer a condemnation. Dude, you're not 7'6". What made you think that you could possess any kind of ability to say, I'm going to post up Victor Wembanyama, I'm going to get into the lane, and I'm going to make this floater over him? That's DOI to the 25th power. definition of insanity. You got to know exactly who you is and who you ain't.
KYP, right, Freddie?
Absolutely. No, in this
know
case,
your personnel.
Well, in this
That's
case
right,
with Pat
KYP.
Spencer, know your Pat. And know your Pat didn't know what that Pat was. He thought he was playing in the backyard against his brother Cam when he used to dominate in front of their mom and dad. And then he looked up and then the whole arena disappeared. Word of advice, if you're in the lane and Victor Wembanyama's guarding you, pass the ball to somebody else and set a screen. That is not going to end well. Ask Pat Spencer about that from Golden State last night.
Well, Harry talked about Wemby's mentality. We know a couple weeks ago in his post-game presser, he made the case for why he should be the MVP. He really emphasized his defense and everything he does to impact the game and provide value to his team. He talked about this again last night about why he wants to win the MVP and why it matters so much to him.
How important is that to you eventually, whether it's now or somewhere down the road, to be recognized as the best player in this league?
Oh, yeah, I do care deeply about it. And I think that all the greats, that are in the Hall of Fame or that are, in our mind, the best of all time, they have fought and grabbed everything they could grab early on in their career, If I want to make my spot among the greats, I got to try to not miss any occasion I have to put my name up there.
You guys, Wemby is so refreshing. He's essentially an Altoid. There's just nothing about this guy that I don't find fresh and wonderful. Truly, everything from him living up to the hype that surrounded him when he came in this league, because, a lot of players we hear about that, especially immediately upon their arrival, don't live up to the billing.
What if the Warriors-Spurs game was not really about the final score at all? What if it was about showing Dub Nation the exact line between what this team is right now and what it could become the second Steph Curry steps back on the floor? Because that's the feeling I can't shake. Golden State lost to San Antonio, and the matchup was ugly in all the places fans feared. Wembanyama looked unstoppable again, the Spurs kept rolling, and the Warriors looked like a team playing uphill because, frankly, they were. Reuters described Golden State as depleted, and that's the honest truth. This was not a full Warriors team getting exposed. This was a survival version Warriors team trying to hang on against one of the hottest groups in the league. The segment really drove home why the matchup got so nasty. Wemby saw there were no real bigs waiting for him, so he stopped settling and went right into the paint. That's the dagger right there. When a superstar knows exactly where your roster is weak and keeps pressing the same bruise, the game gets painful fast. They even used Golden State as the example of how his gravity warps a defense, talking about possessions where it looked like 3 or even 4 Warriors were sucked toward him. Yeah, that's not just dominance, that's psychological pressure. And for Warriors fans, it was a reminder that this roster, without Steph and without a healthy frontcourt, is asking role players to survive situations that would be difficult even for contenders. But here is why I'm still favorable on the Warriors after this one. The biggest development around the team is bigger than the loss itself. The Chronicle reported Curry is progressing, did live 5-on-5 work, and is targeting Sunday against Houston if his knee responds well enough. Reuters and SF Gate both described this stretch as make or break, with Curry finally getting through a key scrimmage and the team now judging whether he can handle the next steps. That matters, because Golden State has held on to the 10 seed long enough for his return to still mean something. This is not some empty late-season cameo. If Steph gets back now, there are still games left to rebuild rhythm before the play-in. That's huge. That's why fans should still feel juice, even after a frustrating night. And the emotional side of this story is what really makes it hit. One of the strongest reports out of the Bay this week was that Curry's return is not just about chasing a miracle. It's about lifting the spirit of the franchise after a dark season full of injuries, lineup chaos, and disappointment. That's so Steph, man. He's not pretending the Warriors are one tweak away from a title. He just wants to give this group life again. He wants to give the crowd something to believe in. He wants to remind everybody that as long as number 30 is in the building, Golden State still carries a pulse that opponents have to respect. And that is why one practice update can hit harder than one loss on the schedule. So, my conclusion is this. The Spurs game exposed where the Warriors are weak, but it also clarified what matters most. Health, timing, Steph. That's the formula now. Not style points, not false hope. Just get healthy enough, fast enough for one more swing. Because if Steph Curry returns and the team gets even a little closer to normal, then the story changes from they got bullied by the Spurs to nobody wants to see Steph Curry in a win-or-go-home game. And that, Dub Nation, is still real. Tell me what you think in the comments. If Steph comes back Sunday, do the Warriors become dangerous immediately? Or does this roster still need more help than one superstar can provide? Hit like, subscribe, and keep rolling with Dub Nation.